For nearly 2,000 standard cycles, the Galactic Concord believed it had mastered the art of peace. Wars no longer began with fleets. They began with meetings. Every major conflict was settled inside the colossal Hall of Unity, a station the size of a moon suspended above the neutral world of Lysara Prime. Here, ambassadors argued, politicians threatened, and empires signed treaties that determined the fate of trillions. It was considered impossible for violence to enter the hall. Every arriving vessel was scanned. Every weapon was prohibited. Every government obeyed. Until humanity arrived. The announcement echoed through the marble corridors. Delegation from Earth requesting permission to dock. The words barely attracted attention. Humans were newcomers. Only 60 galactic years had passed since Earth officially joined the Concord. Compared to civilizations that had existed for millions of years, humanity was little more than an infant species. They were clever, resourceful, annoyingly unpredictable, but harmless. Or so everyone believed. Inside the council chamber, representatives from over 300 civilizations gathered around a circular platform. At its center floated a holographic projection of the disputed system known as Karo's Reach. Rich in exotic matter, vital hyperspace lanes, enough resources to fuel an empire. The Dominion of Velker claimed it. The Orion Collective refused. Entire fleets had mobilized. Only this emergency summit prevented another galactic war. The High Chancellor adjusted his ceremonial robes. If today's negotiations fail, he announced, billions may perish. Silence followed. Then the Velker ambassador laughed. They'll surrender. Across the chamber, the Orion representative slammed both fists onto the table. Never. Arguments exploded. Voices overlapped. Threats filled the chamber. Only one delegation remained silent. The humans. 3 representatives. No military escort. No visible concern. Their leader, Ambassador Evelyn Carter, simply observed. Patient. Listening. Many interpreted her silence as weakness. The Velker ambassador leaned toward her with a mocking smile. You've been unusually quiet, human. She smiled politely. We're here to prevent unnecessary bloodshed. Laughter spread through the chamber. Even smaller civilizations chuckled. Prevent war? Humans? The Velker ambassador stood. Your species possesses fewer than 800 capital ships. He gestured proudly. The Dominion commands over 50,000. Another wave of laughter echoed. You should worry about protecting your own tiny borders before advising true powers. Evelyn never lost her smile. We're not here to threaten anyone. Oh. We're here to negotiate. The Chancellor nodded approvingly. Excellent. Finally. Reason. Diplomacy. Exactly as expected. But then, a security officer rushed into the chamber. His breathing was uneven. His face pale. He whispered into the Chancellor's ear. The Chancellor frowned. What? The officer repeated himself. This time louder. An unidentified vessel has entered the system. Instantly the room quieted. Impossible, another delegate said. Every ship requires authorization. The officer swallowed. It ignored all communications. The chamber lights dimmed. A tactical hologram appeared. One bright signal. Slowly approaching. Massive. Unbelievably massive. Several admirals stared. Their expressions changed from confusion to disbelief. That can't be accurate. The sensor officer checked again. It is. One delegate whispered. Is that a mobile fortress? Another shook his head. No. It's larger. The measurements continued updating. 30 kilometers. Energy output? Off the charts. Armor density? Unknown. Weapon signatures? None detected. Which somehow made it even more terrifying. Because no known scanner could identify its systems. The Chancellor turned toward the human delegation. Ambassador, do you know this vessel? Evelyn looked at the display. Then calmly answered. Yes. Every eye turned toward her. It belongs to Earth. Silence. Several representatives burst into laughter. Ridiculous. Humans don't possess ships that size. Impossible. The tactical officer interrupted. It has just transmitted identification. He hesitated. Then read aloud. Earth Strategic Fleet. Designation: TSV Aegis Eternal. Classification: unknown. Mission status: active. Across the room, confusion spread. The Velker ambassador smirked. So you brought a flagship? Evelyn slowly shook her head. No. The smile disappeared from her face. That's not a flagship. She looked directly at every representative in the chamber. It's our negotiation vessel. No one understood. Until the station's external cameras activated. The image appeared above the council floor. An enormous white warship emerged from hyperspace. Its smooth armor reflected the nearby star like polished silver. There were no exposed weapons. No rotating cannons. No missile pods. Nothing threatening. And somehow, it looked more dangerous than every fleet ever built. Then every military scanner inside the Hall of Unity failed simultaneously. One by one. 300 civilizations lost sensor contact. Only the human ship remained visible. Watching. Waiting. As if it had allowed itself to be seen. And then a single encrypted transmission appeared on every screen in the chamber. It contained only one sentence. Humanity has arrived for peaceful negotiations. But if peace is rejected, Protocol Black will begin. No one spoke. The words, Protocol Black will begin, lingered in the chamber like a death sentence. For the first time in centuries, the Hall of Unity, where thousands of negotiations had taken place, was completely silent. The enormous holographic image of TSV Aegis Eternal floated above the council floor. Its brilliant white hull reflected the light of Lysara's sun, appearing almost beautiful despite its overwhelming size. The Velker ambassador was the first to recover. He laughed. A loud, mocking laugh. So this is humanity's strategy? He sneered. Arrive with an oversized ship and expect the galaxy to surrender. Several delegates nervously joined in. Others remained unconvinced. The High Chancellor turned toward Ambassador Evelyn Carter. What exactly is Protocol Black? Evelyn folded her hands. I sincerely hope you never find out. Her calm answer unsettled everyone more than any threat could have. Meanwhile, outside the station, hundreds of military observation satellites focused on the human vessel. Every sensor available scanned its hull. Spectral imaging, gravitational analysis, quantum resonance, dark matter detection. Every result returned the same impossible message. Unknown technology. One scientist whispered, "It isn't hiding its systems. It's as if our science simply can't understand them." Inside the Dominion flagship Iron Judgment, Supreme Fleet Marshal Kaler watched the live feed with amusement. So this is Earth's legendary diplomacy? An officer nodded. Orders, Marshal? Kaler smiled. Move the third battle fleet closer. But remain outside treaty distance. Let's remind these humans what real military power looks like. Within minutes, 300 Dominion warships exited hyperspace around Lysara Prime. Battleships, carriers, missile cruisers, dreadnought escorts. The display inside the council chamber updated. Gasps echoed throughout the room. The Dominion had just violated neutral zone protocol. The Velker ambassador didn't even try to hide his arrogance. Perhaps, he said, our human friends will negotiate more seriously now. Ambassador Carter slowly stood. She pressed a single command on the holographic console before her. Thousands of eyes watched. Nothing happened, or so they thought. Far outside the station, the TSV Aegis Eternal rotated exactly 3 degrees. No weapons deployed. No engines flared. No shields activated. Yet every Dominion sensor suddenly went dark. Not damaged. Not destroyed. Simply blind. Inside the Iron Judgment, alarms exploded. Marshal! We've lost targeting. Long-range sensors offline. Navigation arrays malfunctioning. Communications disrupted. Kaler slammed his fist onto the command console. What attacked us? No impacts detected. No energy signatures. No hostile emissions. One terrified technician whispered, "It's like space itself stopped cooperating." Back in the Hall of Unity, emergency reports flooded every government terminal. The Chancellor stared at the incoming data. Dominion fleet has lost all sensor capability. Another message arrived. Weapon guidance systems unavailable. Then another. Artificial intelligence cores unresponsive. Then another. Quantum communications disabled. Not a single shot had been fired, yet one of the galaxy's greatest fleets had become helpless. Delegates looked toward Evelyn. She hadn't moved. She simply watched. Patiently. The Orion representative finally asked the question everyone feared. "Did your ship do this?" "Yes." "How?" "I'm not authorized to explain." The Velker ambassador shouted, "You attacked military vessels." Evelyn looked directly at him. "No. We demonstrated restraint." The room grew colder. If Earth intended to attack, she continued quietly, there would be no Dominion fleet left to discuss. Nobody laughed this time. Far beyond the system, hidden deep inside the dark void between stars, ancient automated observatories awakened. Machines older than most civilizations. Machines built by a forgotten race long before the galactic concord existed. For over 1,000,000 years, they had remained dormant. Now, every one of them transmitted the same priority alert. Human strategic asset detected. Classification confirmed. Last recorded appearance, 947,231 standard years ago. Across countless forgotten stations, emergency protocols activated automatically. One ancient archive opened a file that had not been accessed since before recorded galactic history. Its title consisted of only 3 words. The White Judgment. Back at the summit, the Chancellor received another urgent transmission. His face lost all color. This cannot be real." "What is it?" several delegates demanded. The Chancellor slowly looked toward Ambassador Carter. His voice trembled. "Our historical archives. They identify your ship." The room froze. Evelyn's expression changed for the first time. Not fear. Not surprise. Only quiet disappointment. She closed her eyes for a brief moment. "So, the archives survived." The Chancellor swallowed hard. "They claim, the last time this vessel appeared, an empire spanning 12,000 worlds disappeared in less than a week." Every delegate stared at the human ambassador. No one dared speak. Then, without warning, the Aegis Eternal transmitted a second message to every ship in the system. "Humanity requests peace one final time. Reject this offer, and Protocol Black will proceed." The transmission echoed across every military frequency in the Lysara system. "Humanity requests peace one final time. Reject this offer, and Protocol Black will proceed." No countdown. No threats. No dramatic music. Just 12 simple words that somehow carried more weight than the combined arsenals of every empire present. For several long seconds, no fleet moved. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath. Inside the Hall of Unity, hundreds of delegates waited for someone, anyone, to speak first. The High Chancellor finally broke the silence. "Ambassador Carter, if this Protocol Black truly exists, then I urge both sides to continue negotiations." Before Evelyn could answer, the Velker ambassador rose to his feet. His pride had become stronger than his caution. "This is nothing but psychological warfare." He slammed his hand onto the council table. "The Dominion does not bow to intimidation." Several allied delegates exchanged uneasy glances, but none interrupted him. "Our fleets outnumber humanity 60-1. He pointed toward the hologram of TSV Aegis Eternal. "One mysterious ship changes nothing." Evelyn looked at him with genuine regret. "You're making the same mistake others made." The ambassador frowned. "What others?" She was silent. That silence was answer enough. Aboard the Dominion flagship Iron Judgment, Supreme Fleet Marshal Kaler had reached his limit. "Our targeting systems may be blind," he growled, "but kinetic weapons don't require target locks." His officers hesitated. Marshal, we still don't understand what disabled our systems. Kaler's eyes hardened. If they wanted peace, they wouldn't have brought that monster. He turned toward the weapons commander. Prepare a warning volley. But sir, that was an order. Within moments, dozens of massive rail cannons rotated toward the distant human warship. The firing solution was crude without advanced sensors, but at that range it hardly mattered. The bridge fell silent. Fire! Across the void, hundreds of tungsten projectiles accelerated to impossible speeds, each capable of shattering a moon. The council chamber watched the tactical display in horror. No, whispered the chancellor. They fired first. The projectiles raced toward Aegis Eternal. 5 million kilometers. 4 million. 3, 2, 1. They vanished. Not exploded. Not intercepted. Vanished. As if they had never existed. Every scanner searched for debris. There was none. Every calculation failed. No one could explain what had happened. The human warship finally responded. Not with weapons. Not with shields. A single pulse spread silently through space. Invisible. Harmless, at least to living beings. The pulse passed through the Dominion fleet in less than a second. Nothing exploded. Nothing burned. For a heartbeat, everything seemed normal. Then chaos erupted. Marshal, our reactors just shut down. Backup power offline. Artificial gravity failing. Life support transferring to emergency cells. Across 300 Dominion warships, every advanced military system entered safe mode simultaneously. Engines died. Weapons powered down. Shield generators went dark. The fleet drifted helplessly through space. It was the largest military force in the sector, reduced to floating metal, without firing a single shot. Inside the Hall of Unity, panic spread among the delegates. This is impossible. No electronic warfare system can do that. It violated every known law of physics. Evelyn finally spoke. It didn't violate your laws. She looked around the chamber. It simply operates using different ones. No one knew how to respond. Suddenly, a secure transmission reached only the Chancellor's terminal. Its origin shocked him. Galactic Historical Archive Omega Access. This archive had been sealed for over 900,000 years. Only one file had unlocked. Hands trembling, he opened it. Ancient text appeared beside a faded image. The image showed the same white warship. Identical. Untouched by time. Below it were words written by a civilization that no longer existed. If the White Judgment appears, accept its terms. We believed our fleets made us invincible. We were wrong. Another line followed. It never conquered us. It merely removed our ability to wage war. The Chancellor looked up slowly. His heartbeat quickened. He understood something horrifying. The legends had been misunderstood. Humanity hadn't destroyed ancient empires. Those empires had destroyed themselves after refusing peace. The powerless Dominion fleet drifted in silence. Marshal Kaler stared through the bridge viewport. The human ship hadn't moved. It hadn't advanced. It hadn't threatened. It had simply proven that it could end the battle whenever it wished. For the first time in his military career, Kaler felt fear. Not fear of dying. Fear of fighting an enemy who didn't need to kill. Then every screen in every ship across the system lit up with a final message from TSV Aegis Eternal. Protocol Black has not begun. A pause followed. Then another sentence appeared. This was only a diplomatic demonstration. Across the Hall of Unity, countless faces turned pale. If this was merely a demonstration, what would the real Protocol Black look like? The words, "This was only a diplomatic demonstration," echoed through every command bridge, every council chamber, and every military headquarters connected to the galactic network. No one spoke. The Dominion's once proud Third Battle Fleet drifted silently through space, powerless but completely intact. Not a single ship had been destroyed. Not a single sailor had died. Yet the message was unmistakable. Humanity possessed the ability to neutralize an entire armada without spilling a drop of blood. Inside the Hall of Unity, the High Chancellor slowly lowered himself into his chair. "In all my centuries of service," he whispered, "I have never seen power exercised with such restraint." Ambassador Evelyn Carter nodded. "That restraint is exactly why the Aegis Eternal exists." The room turned toward her. For the first time since the summit began, the human ambassador looked ready to answer questions. The Orion representative leaned forward. "Then tell us the truth. What is that ship?" Evelyn took a slow breath. "It is not merely a warship. It is the flagship of Earth's Strategic Deterrence Command. It was never built to conquer worlds. It was built to ensure that wars end before they begin." Several delegates exchanged confused looks. "Then why hide it?" one asked. "Because," Evelyn replied quietly, "history taught us what happens when overwhelming power becomes common knowledge." Far outside the station, aboard the TSV Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias Ward stood on the command deck. The bridge was unlike anything the galaxy had imagined. There were no flashing alarms. No frantic officers shouting commands. Only calm professionalism. Transparent tactical displays floated in the air while the stars stretched across a panoramic viewport. An officer approached. "Captain, Dominion vessels remain disabled." "Casualties?" "None." "Civilian traffic?" "Unaffected." Ward nodded. "Excellent." Another officer spoke. "Our predictive intelligence estimates a 78% chance the Dominion will attempt another escalation within the hour." Ward folded his hands behind his back. "And the remaining 22%? They choose peace." The captain smiled faintly. "Let's hope humanity's faith in diplomacy is rewarded." Back inside the council chamber, the Velker ambassador could barely contain his anger. "You expect us to believe one ship can police the entire galaxy?" Evelyn answered without hesitation. "No, it doesn't have to." She touched the holographic controls. The image of the Aegis Eternal disappeared. In its place appeared an ancient star map. Thousands of glowing markers spread across known space. The delegates stared in confusion. "What are those?" the Chancellor asked. "Our listening stations." Another image appeared. Then another. Hidden facilities. Relay beacons. Deep space observatories. Ancient gateways. All bearing the same insignia. The symbol of Earth. "We have spent centuries preparing for wars we prayed would never happen," Evelyn explained. "We explored regions no one else dared enter. We studied technologies others feared. And we learned one lesson above all." She paused. "The greatest victory is the battle that never begins." A sudden alert interrupted the meeting. Unknown hyperspace rupture detected. Every tactical display shifted toward the edge of the system. A massive distortion rippled through space. Then another. And another. They were not Dominion signatures. Nor Orion. Nor human. The sensors struggled to classify them. An analyst gasped. "Those energy readings. They're coming from outside mapped space." The chamber fell silent once more. One colossal vessel emerged from the distortion. Its dark metallic hull stretched nearly 40 kilometers. Ancient symbols covered its armor. Then 5 more ships appeared. Then 20. Within moments, an entire fleet materialized beyond the orbit of Lysara Prime. No known government recognized the designs. The Chancellor's face turned pale. "Who are they?" No database had an answer. Only one person in the room showed no surprise. Ambassador Carter. She stared at the newcomers with quiet concern. "So, they've finally come back." The Chancellor looked at her in disbelief. "You know them?" Evelyn nodded slowly. "We hoped this day would never arrive. Captain Ward warned us this was possible." The Orion delegate whispered, "What are they called?" Evelyn's expression hardened. "The civilization that once ruled this region of the galaxy before any of us existed." She looked toward the white warship outside the station. "And the reason the Aegis Eternal was built." Before anyone could ask another question, every screen across the system flashed with a transmission from the mysterious fleet. The language was ancient. Forgotten. Yet somehow, every translator decoded the final sentence perfectly. "Return the human guardian, or this galaxy will fall as the last one did." The council chamber froze. The negotiations were over. A far older war had just returned. The message repeated across every communication channel in the Lysara system. Return the human guardian, or this galaxy will fall as the last one did. For several seconds, nobody understood what they had just heard. Not the Dominion. Not the Orion Collective. Not even the oldest civilizations inside the Galactic Concord. Because according to every historical record, the civilization threatening them had vanished millions of years ago. But now, they had returned. Inside the Hall of Unity, panic spread faster than any alarm. The Guardian? What are they talking about? Why do they want the human ship? Hundreds of voices filled the chamber. Only Ambassador Evelyn Carter remained silent. The High Chancellor noticed. You know something. She looked at him. Yes. Then explain. Evelyn stared at the enormous alien fleet appearing outside the station. They are called the Var Dominion. The name alone caused several ancient delegates to freeze. An elderly ambassador from the outer systems slowly stood. No. That is impossible. Everyone looked toward him. You know them? The old ambassador nodded. My civilization has stories about them. He swallowed. Stories we thought were myths. The Chancellor leaned forward. What stories? The ambassador looked toward the human warship. They were the first empire. The first to master artificial intelligence. The first to control star-scale weapons. The first to travel beyond the edge of the galaxy. His voice became quieter. And the first civilization to nearly destroy everything. Captain Elias Ward watched the approaching VAR fleet from the bridge of the TSV Aegis Eternal. The atmosphere was calm. But everyone knew this was different. The Dominion had been a test. The VAR were history. An officer approached. Captain, we have confirmed their identity. Ward nodded. How many? Estimated combat vessels. The officer hesitated. 3,000. The bridge became silent. Weapons? Unknown. Power levels? Beyond our current measurements. Ward looked through the viewport. Ancient enemies had returned. The very reason humanity had built the Aegis program. Open a channel. The image of the VAR commander appeared above the tactical display. A massive armored figure with silver-black skin and glowing eyes. Behind him stood a fleet older than most civilizations. You are the humans, the alien commander said. His voice carried centuries of hatred. You carry the Guardian. Captain Ward answered calmly. Identify yourself. The alien laughed. You truly do not remember. The bridge remained silent. We created the first galactic order. We brought unity through conquest. We controlled billions of worlds. And then your ancestors appeared. Ward's expression changed slightly. My ancestors? The VAR commander smiled. Your species was not born naturally. The bridge went completely quiet. What did you say? You were created. The alien leaned closer. Designed. Modified. Prepared. Captain Ward said nothing. Because he had heard this theory before. But theories were not proof. The VAR continued. Your ancient creators built you as a weapon against us. Back in the council chamber, Evelyn received a private transmission. A message from Earth Command. Only 4 words. Authorization granted. Reveal everything. She closed her eyes. Humanity had hidden the truth for centuries. But now there was no choice. She turned toward the gathered representatives. You want to know why the galaxy fears the ship? The chamber became silent. Because the Aegis Eternal is not humanity's greatest weapon. Everyone stared. Then what is? Evelyn looked toward the stars. Humanity itself. The holographic display changed. A massive historical archive opened. Images appeared from thousands of years ago. Ancient battles. Unknown civilizations. A young Earth. And a war that had never been recorded in galactic history. The Chancellor stepped closer. What are we seeing? The first galactic war. But the records say that never happened. Because someone erased it. The images showed countless alien fleets attacking something. Not Earth. something hidden beyond the galaxy. Then a single human vessel appeared. The first version of the Aegis. One ship against millions. The final recording appeared. A message from an ancient human commander. If you are watching this, then the enemy has returned. Remember what we learned. Peace is not protected by those who desire it. It is protected by those powerful enough to defend it. Outside, the VAR fleet powered up. Thousands of ancient weapons activated. The Dominion ships, still disabled, watched helplessly. The entire galaxy waited. The human warships slowly moved forward. For the first time, the TSV Aegis Eternal activated its full systems. Its white armor transformed. Hidden energy channels ignited beneath the hull. Massive structures unfolded from within. The ship that everyone thought was already terrifying was only showing its outer shell. Captain Ward looked at the approaching enemy. All systems online. An officer checked the readings. Captain. Yes. The officer looked stunned. The VAR fleet is transmitting a warning. Ward stared at the screen. What does it say? The message appeared. Humanity made this mistake once. You will not survive a second time. Captain Ward smiled slightly. Interesting. The bridge lights brightened. Because we were thinking the exact same thing. The galaxy watched in silence. For the first time in recorded history, every major civilization stopped fighting each other. The Dominion fleet, the Orion Collective, the Galactic Concord, even the most distant civilizations beyond known space. They all turned their attention toward one location, Lysara Prime, and the impossible battle about to begin. On one side, the ancient VAR Dominion, a civilization that had conquered thousands of worlds before most species had discovered space travel. A fleet built from technology millions of years ahead of its time. 3,000 warships. Weapons nobody understood. Power systems that ignored modern science. On the other side, one human vessel, the TSV Aegis Eternal. A ship that every empire had underestimated. A ship that had never fired a single weapon in public. Until now. Inside the VAR command vessel, their leader watched the human warship activate. The white armor changed. Panels shifted. Energy patterns moved beneath the hull. Hidden systems awakened. The VAR commander stared. No. His officers looked confused. Commander. The alien stood slowly. That configuration. Impossible. One officer approached. You recognize it? The commander's expression darkened. That is not a human design. Silence filled the bridge. That is our design. Back aboard the Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias Ward received the same information. The VAR are claiming they created the original Guardian technology. Ward looked at the tactical display. Are they lying? The intelligence officer hesitated. Our archives confirm something unusual. Explain. Some components of the Aegis system are older than humanity's official space program. Ward remained silent. Humanity had always known the truth was incomplete. The first explorers. The first engineers. The first builders of the impossible. They had discovered fragments of technology buried beneath planets and hidden inside dead star systems. Humanity didn't invent everything. Sometimes, humanity found what others left behind, and then improved it. The VAR fleet moved closer. Their massive ships formed a perfect attack formation. The Dominion Marshal Kaler watched from his powerless flagship. Can humanity win? Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. The High Chancellor turned toward Ambassador Carter. Tell me honestly, can that ship defeat them? Evelyn looked at the approaching enemy. No. The room became terrified. Then she continued. Not alone. The Chancellor frowned. What does that mean? Evelyn looked around the chamber. It means the galaxy has spent millions of years preparing for humanity to fail. She pointed toward the disabled Dominion fleet. The Dominion believed strength came from numbers. She pointed toward the ancient VAR ships. The VAR believed strength came from control. Then she looked toward the human warship. Humanity learned something different. What? Strength comes from adaptation. The first VAR weapon fired. A beam of blue energy crossed millions of kilometers in less than a second. Every sensor recorded the impact. The entire galaxy watched. The beam struck the Aegis Eternal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the impossible occurred. The energy disappeared. Not absorbed. Not blocked. Disappeared. The VAR fleet went silent. The commander whispered. The Guardian still remembers. Captain Ward looked at the tactical screen. Enemy attack analyzed. Response. The weapons officer waited. For centuries, humanity had prepared for this moment. A single command could unleash enough power to destroy entire fleets. But Ward hesitated, because this was exactly what humanity feared, becoming the monster it had fought against. Do not fire. The bridge officers looked surprised. Captain, we didn't come here to erase civilizations. He looked toward the enemy fleet. We came here to stop them. The VAR commander transmitted again. You still follow the old weakness. Ward accepted the communication. The alien appeared. You refuse to use your power. Ward answered calmly. Power without control is destruction. The VAR laughed. That is why your species will lose. The commander leaned forward. Mercy is a disease. Ward looked at him. No. It is the reason we are still human. Then the VAR fleet revealed their true weapon. A massive structure unfolded from their central flagship. Not a cannon. Not a missile system. Something much larger. A device capable of manipulating gravity across an entire star system. The sensors began screaming. The High Chancellor watched in horror. What are they doing? Evelyn's face changed. For the first time, she looked afraid. They are opening the same weapon that destroyed their own empire. The Chancellor whispered, What weapon? Evelyn stared at the screen. The weapon that ended the First Galactic War. Outside, the stars themselves began moving. The VAR had not returned to conquer. They had returned to finish what they started. And now, humanity had no choice. The Aegis Eternal prepared for battle. The universe had never witnessed anything like it. The VAR weapon activated. Across the Lysara system, gravity itself began to change. Planets shifted slightly in their orbits. Asteroids were pulled from their paths. Light bent around invisible waves of energy. Every civilization watching the battle understood the same terrifying truth. The VAR were not attacking ships. They were attacking space itself. Inside the Galactic Concord Command Center, alarms screamed continuously. Gravitational distortion increasing. System stability dropping. Outer colonies reporting artificial tides. The High Chancellor stared at the impossible readings. Can anyone stop this? Nobody answered, because nobody had ever faced a weapon like this. Except one species. Humanity. Ambassador Evelyn Carter looked toward the holographic image of the TSV Aegis Eternal. Captain Ward knows what to do. The Chancellor looked at her. How can you be certain? Evelyn's expression remained calm. Because that ship was built for this exact moment. Inside the Aegis Eternal, Captain Ward watched the approaching gravitational collapse. The bridge remained silent. Every officer understood the situation. If the VAR completed their weapon sequence, the entire system would become uninhabitable. Not conquered. Not occupied. Destroyed. The weapons officer looked at him. Captain, permission to activate the Omega Defense Array. Ward didn't answer immediately. The Omega Array. The final system. The technology humanity had hidden from the galaxy. The reason the Aegis Eternal was feared. A weapon so powerful that even Earth considered it too dangerous. Because the Omega Array didn't destroy enemies. It changed the battlefield itself. How long until activation? 3 minutes. Ward looked at the approaching VAR fleet. Begin. Across the galaxy, observers watched the human warship change. The smooth white armor separated into thousands of moving sections. Hidden energy channels appeared across the entire vessel. The ship no longer looked like a battleship. It looked like a piece of impossible technology built around a living star. The Dominion Marshal Kaler stared. They were holding back. The Orion commander whispered, Everything we saw before. That was restraint. The VAR commander noticed the transformation. For the first time, uncertainty appeared on his face. Stop them. His officers moved immediately. Thousands of VAR ships opened fire. Energy beams. Gravity weapons. Ancient missiles. Weapons from civilizations forgotten by time. All rushed toward one human ship. The galaxy expected destruction. Instead, the Aegis Eternal moved. Not faster. Not stronger. Smarter. The ship calculated every attack before it happened. Every weapon missed. Every strike was redirected. Every explosion happened exactly where humanity wanted it to happen. The VAR fleet wasn't fighting a ship. They were fighting a prediction engine. Omega Array ready. The bridge became silent. Captain Ward looked at the tactical display. The VAR weapon was almost complete. Millions of lives depended on one decision. Captain? The officer waited. Ward closed his eyes. Humanity had always feared becoming what it defeated. But there was a difference between power and cruelty. A difference between mercy and weakness. Activate. The Aegis Eternal released a wave. No explosion. No destruction. Just a silent pulse spreading through space. It passed through the VAR fleet. Through their weapons. Through their gravity machine. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the VAR weapon stopped. The gravitational distortion disappeared. The stars returned to normal. The universe breathed again. The VAR commander stared at his dead weapon. What did you do? Captain Ward answered. We removed your ability to hurt others. The alien's expression changed. You disabled our technology? No. Ward looked toward the fleet. We gave you the same choice we gave everyone else. Peace. The VAR commander laughed bitterly. You think this proves humanity has won? Ward looked at him. No. It proves humanity could have. Then something unexpected happened. One VAR ship powered down its weapons. Then another. Then another. Across the ancient fleet, thousands of vessels slowly stopped attacking. The VAR soldiers had seen something their ancestors never understood. Humanity had the power to destroy them, but chose not to. The same power that made humans terrifying was the reason they were different. Inside the Hall of Unity, the delegates watched in disbelief. The High Chancellor whispered, "They could have ended the VAR." Evelyn nodded. Yes. Then why didn't they? She looked at the image of the Aegis Eternal. Because humanity remembers what happens when someone believes they have the right to decide who deserves to exist. Suddenly, a new transmission appeared. Not from the VAR commander. From deep space. From beyond the galaxy. An unknown signal. Ancient. Powerful. Impossible. The message contained only one sentence. Guardian identified. A pause followed. Second extinction event approaching. Everyone froze. The VAR had not been the final enemy. They had been running from something. Something worse. Captain Ward looked at the incoming signal. For the first time, humanity wasn't facing a forgotten empire. It was facing something that had terrified the forgotten empire. The message remained frozen on every screen. Guardian identified. Second extinction event approaching. No one moved. No one spoke. Because every civilization understood the same terrifying implication. The VAR Dominion, the empire that once controlled thousands of worlds, the civilization that had returned with weapons beyond modern understanding, was not the greatest threat. They were running from something. Inside the Hall of Unity, fear replaced confusion. The High Chancellor turned toward Ambassador Evelyn Carter. What is a second extinction event? Evelyn didn't answer immediately. For the first time since humanity arrived, she looked uncertain. Not afraid, but cautious. Before the Galactic Concord existed, she said quietly, before most current civilizations evolved, there was another war. The ancient ambassadors listened carefully. The First Galactic War was not between species. It was between civilizations, and something that was not a civilization at all. A cold silence filled the chamber. The Orion representative frowned. Then what was it? Evelyn looked toward the stars. We called them the Nullborn. The name traveled instantly through the galaxy. Ancient archives awakened. Forgotten databases unlocked. Across thousands of worlds, civilizations discovered references they had buried long ago. Not because they forgot. Because they wanted to. The Nullborn were not conquerors. They did not claim territory. They did not build empires. They erased. Worlds disappeared. Stars went silent. Entire civilizations vanished without a battle. There were no survivors. No ruins. No evidence. Only absence. Aboard the TSV Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias Ward received the full classified report. The bridge was silent as the data appeared. First contact. The intelligence officer nodded. Confirmed. Location. Outside the known galaxy. Ward studied the information. And the VAR knew about this? Yes. The officer paused. They weren't invading this galaxy. They were escaping into it. Aboard the VAR flagship, their commander finally requested communication. Captain Ward accepted. The alien appeared. But the arrogance was gone. The hatred was gone. Only exhaustion remained. You understand now. Ward looked at him. You knew they were coming. The VAR commander lowered his head. For millions of years, we prepared. Armies. Weapons. Machines. We believed nothing could defeat us. He looked directly at Ward. Then the Nullborn arrived. The bridge became silent. What happened? The commander looked away. Everything we built. Everything we conquered. Everything we believed made us powerful. Disappeared. The VAR commander transmitted a final image. A galaxy. Or what remained of one. Thousands of stars extinguished. Civilizations erased. A darkness spreading between systems. Captain Ward stared at the image. The Nullborn weren't attacking. They were consuming. And they were moving closer. The High Chancellor watched the conversation from the council chamber. Can humanity stop them? Evelyn answered honestly. I don't know. The room froze. Humanity admitting uncertainty frightened them more than any boast could have. But, she continued, we were never built to fight alone. She activated another channel. For the first time, Earth transmitted a message to every civilization in the Galactic Concord. Not a threat. Not a command. A request. The universe is facing a threat beyond any single species. For millions of years, civilizations have fought each other. Today, we either stand together, or we disappear separately. The response was immediate. The Dominion fleet, still recovering, powered up. The Orion Collective began mobilizing. Hundreds of worlds offered resources. For the first time in galactic history, enemies became allies. Not because humanity demanded it, because humanity showed them something they had forgotten. A common enemy was not enough. They needed a common purpose. Then the sensors detected something. The entire Aegis bridge became silent. A signal had entered the galaxy. No ship. No fleet. No weapons. Just a message. The Nullborn had arrived. The transmission contained no words. Only coordinates. A location. The center of the galaxy. Captain Ward stared at the display. The intelligence officer whispered, Captain, those coordinates. Ward nodded. I know. That's Earth. Millions of kilometers away. Far beyond the battlefield. A single dark shape appeared near the edge of human space. Then another. Then thousands. The Nullborn had not come to negotiate. They had not come to conquer. They had come to finish what they started. And this time, humanity was standing in their way. Captain Ward looked at the growing darkness ahead. All ships. Prepare for battle. The officer hesitated. Against an enemy we know nothing about? Ward looked through the viewport. No. Against an enemy that knows everything about us. The Aegis Eternal moved forward. Behind it, the galaxy followed. The galaxy had never united before. Not truly. For millions of years, civilizations had fought over resources, territory, technology, and pride. The Dominion believed strength came from domination. The VAR believed strength came from control. The Galactic Concord believed strength came from rules. But humanity had discovered something different. Strength came from standing together when everything else wanted you divided. And now, the entire galaxy prepared for war. Above Earth, the combined fleet assembled. Thousands of ships, hundreds of species. Technologies from civilizations that had once been enemies now worked side by side. Dominion battleships protected civilian worlds. Orion carriers supplied weapons and resources. Ancient VAR vessels shared forgotten technology. At the center of it all, the HFY Eternal waited, the human warship that had become a symbol of hope. But Captain Elias Ward knew the truth. Symbols did not win wars. Choices did. On the bridge of the Aegis Eternal, reports arrived continuously. Nullborn fleet approaching outer defense line. Estimated enemy numbers? The officer hesitated. Unknown. Why? Because their vessels are not registering as vessels. Ward turned. Explain. The intelligence officer enlarged the sensor image. The enemy fleet appeared as a moving shadow. No visible engines. No weapons. No conventional structure. They looked less like ships, and more like pieces of darkness moving through space. They aren't using technology we recognize, the officer said. Ward watched silently. They're not machines. No. There's something else. The first nullborn wave entered human space. The galaxy opened fire. Thousands of weapons illuminated the darkness. Energy beams. Plasma cannons. Ancient VAR weapons. Human design systems. Everything fired at once. The result shocked everyone. Nothing happened. The attacks passed through the nullborn fleet. Not blocked. Not destroyed. Ignored. The enemy continued moving forward. The Dominion Marshal Kaler stared in horror. Our weapons are useless. The VAR commander answered quietly. They were always useless. Panic spread. What can stop them? Why are they immune? How do we fight something that cannot be damaged? Inside the command network, voices became desperate. Then the Aegis Eternal transmitted. Captain Ward appeared on every screen. Listen carefully. The galaxy became silent. The enemy wants us to believe they are unstoppable. But that is their greatest weakness. The Orion commander responded. What weakness? Ward looked at the approaching darkness. They don't understand us. The Nullborn had spent millions of years studying civilizations. They understood fear. They understood survival. They understood destruction. But they never understood sacrifice. They never understood loyalty. They never understood a species choosing to protect another species with no benefit to themselves. And humanity had built an entire civilization around that idea. Captain Ward turned toward his tactical officer. Activate the Unity Protocol. The officer froze. Captain, that's never been tested. Ward nodded. I know. The Unity Protocol was humanity's final invention. Not a weapon. A connection. Every allied ship linked their systems with the Aegis Eternal. Human technology. VAR technology. Alien technology. Ancient systems. All combined. The galaxy's greatest weakness became its greatest advantage. Different minds. Different species. Different solutions. One purpose. The moment the network activated, something changed. For the first time, the Nullborn stopped moving. The darkness slowed. Their advance became uncertain. The VAR commander watched the readings. They're confused. Ward looked at him. Why? The alien answered. Because they have never faced Unity before. The Nullborn transmitted their first message. Not a threat. Not an attack. A question. Across every ship. Every planet. Every civilization. The same words appeared. Why do you resist? The galaxy waited. No one knew what to say. Then Captain Ward replied. Because we are not fighting to survive. The pause. We are fighting so others can. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the Nullborn fleet changed formation. The darkness expanded. The final battle began. The Aegis Eternal moved forward. Every allied ship followed. The stars disappeared behind an ocean of light. Captain Ward looked at the enemy ahead. This was the battle humanity had prepared for since discovering the truth of the universe. Not a war for territory. Not a war for power. A war for existence itself. Then the Nullborn revealed their true form. The darkness surrounding their fleet began collapsing inward. And behind them, something larger appeared. Something that made even the VAR commander terrified. The Nullborn were not the army. They were only the soldiers. The real enemy had finally arrived. A presence larger than planets. Older than stars. A force that had erased galaxies. The bridge went silent. The officer whispered, "Captain, what are we looking at?" Ward stared at the impossible shape forming in space. Then he answered, "The reason the universe needed humanity." The galaxy stopped. Not because the battle ended. Because everyone finally understood what was approaching. Behind the Nullborn fleet emerged something beyond imagination. A structure so enormous that sensors could not measure it. It was not a ship. It was not a weapon. It was an ancient force that moved between galaxies like a living shadow. The civilizations of the Galactic Concord had names for many things. Gods. Monsters. Legends. But this had no name. Because nothing had survived long enough to name it. Inside the TSV Aegis Eternal, every alarm remained silent. The crew stared at the impossible object before them. Not because they weren't afraid. Because they understood. This was the enemy humanity had been preparing for. Captain Elias Ward stood at the center of the bridge. Estimated size? The intelligence officer looked at the data. Then looked again. "I don't know." "Try." The officer swallowed. "It is larger than planetary systems." Silence. "And it's moving toward Earth." Ward nodded slowly. "Then we stop it here." Across the combined fleet, fear spread. The Dominion ships had fought thousands of battles. The VAR had conquered entire galaxies. But none had ever faced something like this. The VAR commander transmitted to Ward, "We cannot defeat it." Ward looked at him. Maybe not alone. The alien was silent. Then he understood. Humanity wasn't asking them to fight for Earth. Humanity was asking them to fight for everyone. The ancient enemy finally transmitted. A voice unlike anything they had heard before filled every communication channel. Not loud. Not angry. Just empty. "You are temporary. All species are temporary. All civilizations end." The galaxy listened. The message continued. "We remove the inevitable." Captain Ward stepped forward. "You call extinction inevitable because you have never seen anything else." The pause. "We have watched millions of species die." Ward answered calmly. "And we have watched millions of species live." The darkness moved closer. "Why fight?" Ward looked around the bridge. At his crew. At the thousands of allied ships behind him. At the countless worlds waiting for hope. Because existence has meaning. The enemy attacked. Not with weapons. With extinction energy. A wave spread across space. Every system it touched began shutting down. Stars dimmed. Machines failed. Ships lost power. The combined fleet started collapsing. One by one. But the Aegis Eternal remained. The white warship activated its final system. The one humanity had never tested. The one built from everything humanity had learned. The Legacy Core. The crew watched as the ship connected with every allied vessel. Not controlling them. Not commanding them. Sharing with them. Humanity's greatest discovery was not a weapon. It was cooperation. The Dominion shared strength. The VAR shared ancient knowledge. The Orion shared innovation. Thousands of civilizations contributed something. And together, they created something no single species could create. The ancient enemy attacked again. The wave reached Earth. Then stopped. The entire galaxy watched. The darkness could not continue. For the first time in millions of years, something had resisted. Not because it was stronger. Because it was united. Inside the Aegis Eternal, Captain Ward looked at the final readings. "We have one chance." The officer nodded. "What's the plan?" Ward smiled. "The same plan humanity has always followed. Adapt." The Aegis Eternal moved forward alone. toward the impossible enemy. Every ship watched. Every civilization waited. The human warship entered the darkness. For a moment, it disappeared. Then a signal returned. One message. From Captain Ward. Humanity was never the strongest species. We were never the oldest. We were never the most advanced. But we learned something the universe forgot. The pause. The future belongs to those who protect it. The legacy core activated. The darkness shattered. Not destroyed. Transformed. The ancient force that had consumed galaxies finally stopped. For the first time in countless ages, it experienced something new. Connection. Understanding. Years later, the galaxy remembered the battle differently. Not as the day humanity defeated an enemy, but as the day humanity changed the universe. The galactic concord rebuilt. Former enemies became allies. The VAR became guardians instead of conquerors. The Dominion abandoned expansion and embraced cooperation. And Earth? Earth continued exploring. Because humanity never wanted an empire. Never wanted control. Never wanted worship. Humanity only wanted one thing. A universe where everyone had the chance to survive. And whenever a new civilization looked toward the stars, they saw the symbol of the TSV Aegis Eternal. The white warship that arrived not to conquer, but to remind the galaxy of one simple truth. When humanity comes to negotiate, listen carefully. Because if negotiation fails, the deadliest warship in existence will arrive.